2015 has been a great year for gamers. We've got amazing AAA launches, we've seen great indie launches which brought out some hidden gems. We've got outstanding titles like Metal Gear Solid 5, which really pushed Hideo Kojima's world of Metal Gear Solid, and the entire Fox engine was really amazing. Really innovative open world gameplay we've seen there, and the other games like Fallout 4, which is so highly anticipated, and it's really delivered. Fallout 4 did deliver to its fans, although there were a few graphical glitches, gameplay hitches, but nothing can be taken away from Fallout 4. It was really amazing. We've also had the other platforms chip in, like the Wii, which helped all Mario fans finally design their own Mario levels, and some of the levels that came out as a result are mind-boggling. But the focus of this video, that is my personal winner for Game of the Year, as the title says, is Witcher 3. Now obviously you might have a different opinion, and that's fair, that's valid. To project what I'm really feeling about Witcher, let me take you back a few years, 11 years to be precise. And when this game came out, I felt all other games should be benchmarked on how this game was made.
Rise and shine, Mr. Freeman. Rise and shine.
Half-Life 2 was a breakthrough game when it was released. It had innovative weapons, crazy set pieces, superb level design, and the list goes on and on. If you haven't played Half-Life 2, seriously, your life is incomplete. But why am I comparing such a different game, both in genre and how it's played, to Witcher 3? Well, it's because the amount of fun that I had is very, very similar in both these games. And to be honest, Half-Life 2 did some crazy innovation with itself. And this is what I'm seeing with Witcher 3. What I would consider Half-Life 2 to be is a work of art. And a decade later now almost, what I see with Witcher 3 is the same amount of dedication going into this game, which is just brilliant. If you want something more similar in lines of nature, I'd say that a game that I've played like Witcher 3 may be Baldur's Gate. That came out a decade, actually 17 years ago. What I'm trying to say here is that Witcher 3 is evoking the same emotions that I had while playing these games. Like I said, these games came out a decade ago, and only after so long am I playing such a game that's making me care about its world and its characters, which is quite brilliant. Getting back to The Witcher 3 now. So once you start the game, off the bat you notice that the game is bloody gorgeous. You can keep riding through the forest during a sunset and you still have a great time. The game is lavished with such a beautiful sense of atmosphere that the world makes even the most mechanically mundane of quests feel super immersive and also incredibly important. But taking nothing away from the side quests here, in fact these are one of the best side quests that I've played in the game. The entire game is filled with brilliant side quests. The game world is also really alive. You'll notice that the trees sway in the wind, people talk in languages that you will not understand, and basically a brilliant setting for a game to take part in. The dialogues in game are also very well done. If you try to fathom the amount of script that The Witcher 3 has, it's almost about 450,000 words. It's about 4 novels to be precise, and almost 950 voice actors who recorded for 2.5 years, which has the entire game's dialogues. The scope is really huge. In fact, the in-game dialogue is really important, and you should pay attention to it as it pays off in many different ways. Your choices post listening to certain dialogues with characters sometimes will have real dire consequences, and many a time it will come down to which is the lesser evil out of the two situations.
Not in that much of a hurry.
Character models are top notch in this game. They're beautifully rendered with a lot of detail going into the faces of a lot of characters, especially the main ones, where you can notice even subtle eye movements in them. And it really pushes the interaction between NPCs to a new level, as they appear to be vested in what each of them has to say, and it makes them feel very genuine. The Witcher also treats its audience in a very mature fashion, with lots of tones of sex and romance in the game. as well as minimal amount of hand holding and spoon feeding when it comes to how the game is meant to be played. For example, when the game came out, there were minimal amount of tutorials on each of the activities that you could do, which has now been updated actually. So it's brilliant when a game decides to treat its audience to be smart enough to figure out how to do things, but it's also risking losing its audience who may not have the amount of time that they can invest into such a game. Because few of the people who I spoke to who did not like the game were the ones who could not give Witcher the time it deserves or fathom their head around all the activities and all the content that was there to do. However, taking nothing away from this style of game. This decision was quite brilliant because for anyone who gave Witcher a serious shot, absolutely loved this game. Combat is a really important aspect of a game like Witcher 3, and to be honest, the devs have done a very good job if you compare this to the previous games. The movement is much more fluid, parrying and counter-attacking seems much easier, and you've got a good arsenal at hand with silver swords for monsters, steel swords for humans, you've got oils to tackle specific monsters. I mean, you really need to know which oils to use for what monsters. If you're playing at the higher difficulty levels, that is, you'll really need to research a bit by going into the bestiary and looking up at what oils or what bombs really damage monsters and what signs to use against certain types of creatures. So it really keeps you invested in the combat system, and it never gets old. I've been playing this game for now over 300 hours, and every time you fight a creature like a griffin or a siren, it feels cool. The combat does feel different. Now, The Witcher is a multimedia storytelling phenomenon. It started with a series of books by Polish writer Andrzej Sapkowski, a fantasy series actually of short stories about the Witcher Geralt of Rivia. It has also been made into a film, and most recently now along with graphic novels and the video game series that everyone's familiar with. So personally, I have read the books. They're pretty astounding, to be honest. The storytelling is quite unique, with traditional fairy tales actually being subverted into something else. It's quite brilliant. Sometimes I'd be halfway into a story before recognizing what I was reading. And to be honest, The Witcher does have an upper hand thanks to this universe that Andrzej Sapkowski has created, because it's now been easy for them to adapt this whole universe into a game. I mean, the universe is already alive. The characters, the timelines, the world, the setting, the fantasy, everything's been brilliantly set up for the developers to pick up and go about. But you can't take anything away from them because this main story is brilliantly well written. The writers on this game have done a top-notch job. You really care about all the characters that you come in contact with, especially Ciri, who is center of this game, and you really begin to care for her, just almost like how Geralt actually cares for her in the books. You're really involved in her story and how her life turns out, how the decisions are taken. I mean, it's very similar in terms of how you care for Clementine in the Walking Dead series if you've played that, because you were also vested in her outcome and her journey in the story. So the main story is really a series of emotional ups and downs, like super joyous moments and really sad moments as well involved, and it has a really good pace to it, which is why this is one of the best main stories in a game that I've ever played for quite some time now. And like I was also mentioning, the side quests, which are quite brilliant, because it's not the side quests are direct. I mean, there are fetch quests, but it's modeled in what we call a therefore but situation, all these side quests. There's another video that's explained how it's done, and you should really check it out, because the side quests in this game really extend the entire game. The entire playability of this game is extended thanks to these side quests. None of them are irritating. I mean, there's a side quest in which you find a pan for a lady, there's a side quest in which you fetch a goat for someone, and then there's a side quest in which you fight a werewolf. So crazy amounts of variety and amazing in terms of playability as well. Now, I've been playing games all my life, and this is definitely right up there with the best games that we've had in a very long time. It makes other big titles look puny in comparison, to be honest, and CD Projekt Red have managed to set the bar so incredibly high with this game that I kind of feel bad for the other devs or publishers that try to make an open world RPG in the future. Witcher and CD Projekt Red is what gaming needed. This is why I play games, be fully immersed in another world. I mean, also look at the value for money here. There were 16 free DLCs which are included that contained cosmetic items as well as quests. which is crazy because nowadays all you see is publishers releasing DLC for content which can be unlocked in the game anyway. With Hearts of Stone already out and the Blood and Wine expansion coming up pretty soon, which the devs promise to be as brilliant or even better than the main storyline. And congratulations to CD Projekt Red on a job fantastically well done. Far and away the best modern game developer, in my opinion.